Okay, so thank you for joining me, Fred. I really appreciate you putting the time. And what we want to do is actually talk about Nashville, a little bit more in more details. I was just recently there, and we've been investing in that market for quite some time. But let's start with more of a bigger picture overview before we dive into more details regarding the local economy, like the size of it, who are the big employers, what's driving the economy, what can you share with us, the investors who are considering investing there, about the economical growth drivers of the Nashville market, patterns you're seeing?
It's great to talk to you with this, Danny. I'm very excited about our market here. It's very dynamic. As far as the drivers, I think the primary driver is the geography. Nashville is central to most of the major markets in the United States, from the East to the Midwest. So lots of companies are relocating here to fuel their distribution networks. They're equidistant from the north and from the south in Nashville. It's a very central location. So that's fueling lots of jobs in the sector that's ideal for renters. Lots of distribution, lots of logistical stuff. We're also a hub for a lot of hospital and medical administrative software applications and development. Then medical, and of course, being in Nashville, where this is the state capital, a lot of government jobs here too. And in the Nashville metro area, which is Middle Tennessee, which really encompasses from Clarksville to Chattanooga, which is the middle section of the state, we've got several counties that make that area up, and they all have government offices, and so that's another source of employment. Another major employer is middle management and upper management for corporations. We have hundreds of corporations that have their headquarters here. So that's a big driver. A lot of companies that are just under the radar, they're not really major companies, but they locate here for tax purposes and for labor reasons. We're a red state. Labor laws are very loose. It's at-will employment, and we're very conservative, very landlord friendly. So there are all those things are coming into play. We have very little tax overhead, and we're 20% below the average cost of living here. So companies are relocating here from more expensive and more taxed areas to get relief. They give their employees a raise just by relocating here without increasing their pay. Because of our lower tax structure and our lower cost of living, somebody can buy much more house here than they could in somewhere on the East Coast or the upper Midwest or California. For instance, Nissan brought their U.S. national headquarters here in 2006. They brought everybody from Torrance, California here, and everybody got a raise without increasing their pay. General Motors is also relocating a lot of their manufacturing here. Their real popular SUV models are manufactured here in Nashville now, on their Spring Hill plant. Nissan has a plant here, and then Nissan has a hub for management, and they fly every day from Smyrna to Mississippi to any other. They have another plant, and they fly every day. So if they have a management issue, they have excess people in Smyrna, they fly them to Mississippi or to South Carolina.
So Nissan, both there's a plant, but they have moved already, or they're in the process of moving the headquarters, which is a different thing from the plant, right? It's not next to the plant directly.
Well, the Nissan plant has been here since the 80s.
Oh, okay.
It was the first Japanese manufacturers to move to the United States, and that's a major employer in Rutherford County. Very significant, a lot, from high-level executives right down to hourly workers. But then in 2006, they moved their national headquarters from Torrance, California to Franklin.
Gotcha. Okay.
And the Franklin-Brentwood area employs about 150,000 people per day that drive into that area and drive out because they cannot afford to live there. They can't afford to buy a house there. So that makes up a big part of our rental pool. People that work in those areas, they can't afford to live there, so they have to live in the surrounding areas. And that kind of is a great segue into how we select rental properties. The biggest driver for rental properties here is access to transportation, because for most of the renters, their most significant issue is commute to work. here, if somebody has a 45-minute commute, they're worked up about it. I know in other parts of the country that's pretty normal.
It worked out being, they're okay with it. 45 minutes is completely acceptable or actually exciting. It sounds like it's not a negative.
No, but people want to minimize their commute. I think it's just a universal trait for most people. So most of our tenants are concerned. That's their primary concern, more than schools or more than anything else. Is how does the property get them directed to their morning commute, to their afternoon commute, because they want to spend less time on the road.
Would you say, first of all, we gotta when you say transportation, it's a kind of bigger term. I would assume the type of renters we are going after, they're using their cars. And when you say transportation, you just mean what's the fastest route using their car to their job, right? Yeah. Not like public transportation or anything like that. Maybe they're using there's no busing. In the San Francisco Bay Area, you have buses for all the big companies driving employees up and down. That's not the case.
No. This is a conservative area, and as I mentioned, we're one of the lowest tax rates in the country. We have no state income tax, so we don't have big, massive bureaucratic infrastructures for transportation. It's all street, ground-based transportation. So our rentals are focused around Interstate 40, Interstate 24, Interstate 65, and Interstate 840. And then some state highways, 231 and 96, to facilitate people moving around from where they live into those employment areas.
Now, would you say transportation, when someone is choosing housing, I'm not talking about rentals at the moment or someone is buying, but altogether the mindset people use, transportation or commute time is more or less important than schools rating?
It's more important than schools.
Commute.
School ratings are not terribly significant here because there are a lot of options. Not everybody's restricted to a public school. School districts are determined by the county that someone lives in. So that's where your ratings are coming in, is on the county. And we only select homes that are in areas where that's not really a problem. We have some schools that are considered average or C rated, but they're not really a problem because if somebody has a student that's directed towards higher education or higher achievement, the school adjusts for that and provides a track for those kids. Then there's also a track for the average kids, and so the schools that have those ratings, those average ratings, is because the test scores are average. So the school accommodates those people. The other thing is a lot of people here don't rely on public schools. They use private schools or some sort of what's considered home-based education or homeschooling. And frequently that's not educating the kids in the house, but that's a collective effort by a church or a faith-based organization or some other cooperative that people have gotten together. And there may only be 20 kids, but they're going to school together, and the state considers that homeschooling. A lot of people, that's why it's not really a concern for renting or for where they live, because they're opting for that form of education for their kids.
So you're saying a lot of people actually don't send their kids to the public system. They're doing their own version of homeschooling, of a collective of families or church, or maybe around a social connection or some faith connection or something else, and then they do the homeschooling in a different concept. They're not necessarily doing it in their house, mom or dad teaching their 3 kids, whatever, right? So it's a little bit different type of homeschooling.
Yeah, that's a very popular option.
So, and you said the other thing is that the private schooling. So, I mean, how can one afford sending their kids to a private school?
Well, they don't all have tuitions. A lot of them are cooperative or faith-based. So they're either underwritten by a faith organization or it's a cooperative effort, meaning it'd be the same thing as educating your kids at home where there's no cost, but they're putting 20. They have got like a facility provided by a church or some civic organization, and the kids meet there and they have home-based education. There's somebody volunteering their time. That's conservative areas. There are a lot of single-parent house or single earner households with a parent at home, and they may be 2 or 3 of those people gotten together, and they're going in without pay and teaching that cooperative group. So
Okay.
it's not a major issue among tenants concerned about the schools.
Okay, so commute is important, and school is important, but not as important maybe as commute, because there are a lot of people use alternative schooling, solutions. Let's just call it this way. Okay, I get it. So if I'm an investor looking in a house that officially on some website, say Zillow or something else, it says it's C rating, I should not necessarily be concerned just because of that. I have to look at it in a bigger perspective, saying, okay, what's the commute? Of course, pricing, rent, all of this. This is just a factor, and not necessarily the critical factor, the school rating.
Right.
Okay.
The schooling is not a major driver. Another driver that is very seldom measured on Zillow or Trulia or one of those sites is access to recreation. And again, we're a conservative area. Popular in the media to call us a red state. A lot of people here are very focused on recreation and outdoor activities. Hunting, fishing, sports. So you'll see a significant number of our rentals are focused on reservoirs, which accommodate all that. The reservoirs typically have nature areas around them that are open to hunting, bow hunting, gun hunting, long gun hunting, as well as fishing, surfing, or not surfing, but skiing, water skiing.
Water skiing.
That's very popular. Wakeboarding, and of course, there's also areas set aside for hiking and natural activities, that kind of thing. But we have 2 major reservoirs right here in the Nashville area, and we do a lot of leasing around those areas for that reason.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, how are you seeing the market at large? I mean, we've been working for a long time together, and we've seen the Nashville trending. What are the challenges I should be expecting these days? Locally as an investor, maybe buying another property, or maybe buying my first property altogether, or first property in Nashville. What are the challenges you're seeing that I should be ready for?
The primary challenge that I see is the pace of our market. In the price range, we find the best cash flow, sub 250,000 houses priced below 250,000. There's a lot of competition for those houses, not from other investors, but from people moving here and seeking somewhere to live. So we have a lot of competition from people that are trying to get into the maximum house they can afford, and with all the other obligations they have there and their cap of their income, they're stuck in that $200,000 to $250,000 price range. So in a lot of the areas that we're looking to buy that rent quickly, we're having competition from those people, and so as an investor, you have to look at the sales price and realize that in some cases, I'm going to suggest we offer above the list price in order to secure the contract. That's probably the most significant characteristic right now is the competition, and that's not inflated. That's not a function of a bubble. That's just a reality of people moving this part of the country, and builders they're building plenty of homes above 300,000. Those houses still in the market for 30 days, but in that lower price range, they're not building because land prices are too high. So there's a lot of competition for those properties.
Gotcha. When you say you just mentioned the pricing, inventory moving fast, a lot of competition. What can I do as an investor in order to get some advantage, or what are 1, 2, 3 pointers I can use in order to increase my chances of not only buying, but basically buying sooner, and not kind of keep trying for weeks or months at a time until I get something?
I think the biggest thing is be willing to put a little more money towards improvements, because there's less competition for a house that, say, maybe needs not only just paint, but maybe needs some improvement in the floor area, some carpet replaced, or some vinyl put into a room. So if the average improvement cost is about $2,500, if you're willing to put down $5,000 in improvements, that will give you a competitive edge, because most of the home buyers we're competing against are not capable of doing that. So that would be a significant issue you know.
What about, I mean, you and I spoke about possibly even looking for houses that need more than 5K, because 5K it's easy for most of our investors, but something that needs, maybe a new roof, a new paint, new flooring, those are simple things, but they add up. They can easily go beyond 10,
Yeah.
a lot of touch-ups. So obviously that will also open up opportunity to, to tackle those houses that other people don't want to touch them because they need more work. Other people, owners, okay.
Yeah, that just increases chances even more. I mean, makes it a lot easier if you're willing to put in, say 10 to 15,000. We have a lot of houses like that where the house is built in the 2000s, maybe 2005, but still have the original roof on it, and the carpet and the interior are worn, and there might be a little rough spots. Nothing severe, right. But if they're willing to put in 10 or 15,000, we have a lot more properties like that we can fit for them.
Okay. What about other things that we can do? Is a cash offer a big winner or not? I don't know, response time, other pointers that can help us, succeed with our offers.
Cash offers are preferred. Most sellers love the idea of a cash offer because there's very little question with it. You come with a cash offer, and we're willing to close in 10 to 15 days. No contingency for a loan. That's something else that will help quite a bit. And then a high down payment. If you can state on your contract that you're going to only need a 75% loan or a 70% loan, and all our competitors are looking for a 90 or 95% loan,
gotcha.
You're a much stronger buyer.
Okay, gotcha. So that's good. That's usually anyway within the what the investors will be putting at least 20% down, so 20 or 25, sometimes even 30. So that's good to know. Now, when you going back to the point that you said a little bit earlier, paying above asking, I want to kind of refine that because when I speak to investors from the San Francisco Bay Area, that's a very common thing. However, over there, you start a listed house for 1.3 mil, it easily ends up at 1.5 or 1.6. So when you say in the Bay Area above asking, people think, oh my God, this is crazy, right? When you and I talk about above asking, a house that starts at 200,000, above asking could be 205 or even 203 or maybe 210 is like quite a bit over asking, which you don't really see, right? So it's important to use the numbers, to explain that. Even 10,000 over 200 above, it's still what, 5% over, not which is also pretty high.
It's not significant, especially if you compare to other markets. Now, typically where it makes a difference is we have an area that rents very quickly, and the house price may be $186,000, and that's what they're asking. And so I may advise somebody to come in at 191 or 192. So we're not talking about a dramatic difference.
Okay.
Nothing like on the West Coast.
Okay. Sounds good. Is there anything else worth mentioning about the market, about things that you're seeing planned or coming, maybe some big announcement made by this company or that company that are coming over or planning to come over? I know that Nashville, I think, also on Amazon list, but we don't know about that at the moment. Is there other things coming up that we should know that could be help us get more excited about Nashville than we already are?
Right off the top of my head, I don't think specific. We are, as I understand it from some inside conversation, we are on the shorter list for Amazon. We have 2 new Amazon facilities here already for distribution, and I don't think that's typical for the other areas they're considering to have 2 major distribution facilities, around the town. But we have several employment hubs, Franklin and Brentwood, which is Williamson County. We regularly have companies. Frequently, they don't have a facility there, but they put their headquarters there.
Gotcha.
Mars Pet Care just expanded, and they're a pretty big U.S. worldwide manufacturer of pet food and that type of stuff. ClareCore, Swanson Pharmaceuticals, or Schwann Pharmaceuticals, and then a number of companies that service automobile manufacturers. Because what most people don't realize is almost every world manufacturer of automobiles is located in the Southeast United States now. Hyundai, Subaru, BMW, Mercedes, Toyota, Nissan. Everybody has plants within a few hours of Nashville. So a lot of the companies that supply them, that make the dashes, the seats, the components, are locating here because they can get lower costs, they can get workers, and they can just distribute, equally to each manufacturer.
Okay, so let me wrap up, or kind of repeat the main pointers or the main takers from this conversation. So first of all, we talked about commute is important to people, but at the same time, we got to understand that not the downtown Nashville is not the only employment area. There are other employment centers, like big employment centers throughout the metro, but being close to the major transportation arteries like the 24, the 40, the 65, and others is important. School are important, but they're not the most important one, because people do their own version of homeschooling, or they go to the private schools that are offered throughout the community. So it's important, but not the top one. We see a lot of growth in terms of population moving in, and people like recreation, so that's very important to them as well. And in terms of succeeding with our offers, don't be afraid to offer a little bit over asking. It helps. Cash helps. A higher down payment, than 20 or above that, helps as well. Response time helps, and then maybe tackling or targeting houses that need anywhere from 5,000 to 20,000 to 20,000 worth of work, which are very unattractive to other buyers. Other buyers primarily being homeowners in the marketplace, not necessarily other investors.
Those are all key. One other piece I would add is, unlike in some markets, you have two components of a seller, a home seller, and a property manager. We're all integrated. I work for the property manager. So whenever I do a property inspection, which is written into our contract, every property has to be inspected to identify any defects. We also have a leasing person and a maintenance person and a marketing person that come over, and they look at the house and they see not only what needs to be repaired or what might make it more attractive, but they look at any key points that we could make to the house to make it more marketable and to get the higher rent. So that's a very key feature here.
Okay, so I want to emphasize that point, because I agree with you. It's important. So you are not a property manager per se. You are our realtor, in the market, but you work under the roof of the property management company. Obviously, that by design. It's not by accident. And I liked it this way. And then the other thing you said, so you handle sales, but under the roof of the property management company. And then the other thing you said is that when we have a house under contract, then how many people go and see it besides yourself? How many more people?
Well, we have an independent structural inspector,
okay,
and then a leasing and a leasing, marketing, and maintenance person. So sometimes that's a combined function, but that's 3 people looking at the house.
Okay, so besides you and the inspector, we may have another person from the company, from the leasing side, who represents the maintenance as well, or sometimes it's 2 other people from the company, doing 2 different functions: marketing, leasing, and maintenance. So it's an additional person. So it's a minimum of 3 different people working that house, not including the appraisal, of course, which is the 4th one.
Right. That's somebody the lender sends over, but it's very comprehensive. And so the same thing, the rents that I get come from the leasing people. They verify the rents that I provide, and I'm part of the organization, so we follow this thing through. As soon as we can legally advertise it, we're promoting the property before the repairs are done. So even if somebody buys a property that needs $20,000 worth of repairs, and it may take 4 weeks to get that done, depending on how expensive they are, we're already marketing the property and pinning up demand, for people to see that property.
Okay, that sounds good. Very good. I think this is very helpful to give a detailed overview of Nashville. I appreciate your work, your straightforward answers. Not kind of being vague, but actually being very specific. I like that a lot. I value the work we're doing together already. So this is just a natural extension of what we communicate almost on a weekly basis. And thank you for all your information, Fred. I appreciate it. And you have a terrific day. I'll let you go and service all those other investors that are searching as we speak.
Okay. Well, thank you, Danny. I always like working with your people.
All right. Thank you, Fred. Have a terrific day. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye.